Yep.
Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Around the Lens, your live weekly visual journalism roundtable show. I'm your host, David J. Murphy. Around the Lens, again, like I said, is a live weekly visual journalism show talking about all the topics, news, and gear related to our career field. I do this show every week with my co-host, Zach Roberts. Zach.
Hello. I just realized that I had to bring up the thing with all my notes on it because for some reason I still can't remember what our social media things are. Anyway, if you want to learn more about us, you can head on over to aroundthelens.com. That's our website. Follow us on Facebook at AtL Podcast, on Instagram at Around the Lens, and then on Twitter at ARoundLens. And I believe we're giving away something that is not a bag this week.
Well, lo and behold, good lordy. Yes, we are doing a giveaway that isn't a camera bag this month. Zach, why don't you go ahead and introduce it, since obviously it was your idea and you got the kind, generous gentleman to give away some of his wares.
It is a really amazingly fantastic book. Yes, I said amazingly fantastic.
That's high praise.
By the way, I went to film school for reviewing films.
Oh my God.
When I say amazingly fantastic, it means like 17 thumbs up. It is Carl Johnson's book on the potential place where a little mine called Pebble Mine might be built. It's where water is gold, and it's basically about the Bristol Bay watershed, which has something like a quarter of the world's population of wild salmon. And if they build this mine there, it'll be destroyed. But it's not just your normal kind of sad, depressing environmental book. It's the book that takes photos of gorgeous landscapes, amazing people, the indigenous people that have been there for however many years, and how they live there, and why it's important that they have their clean water. So it's not depressing like most of these environmental. As an environmental person who works on environmental reporting, most of the work I do is really, really sad. It's like, oh, there's an oil spill. Oh, there's coal stacks and crap like that. This one is gorgeous. Like, you'd actually want to like get prints from this. And the book has some really great essays by Alaskan writers and an intro by a former Supreme Court justice. I believe it was Sandra Day O'Connor. It's a really great read. And the photos, like I keep saying, are amazing. You can go over to the podcast, aroundthelens.com, and we'll probably re-up the post, but we'll have to put a link in here. I did a big interview with Carl Johnson. He's been a guest before, and also did a write-up on the book with a bunch of photos that are up there. Be sure to check them out, and we'll have more up on the Facebook page soon about it.
And if you'd like to win one of 3 copies of the book signed by Carl, all you got to do is 3 simple things. Subscribe to our newsletter, like Around the Lens and Arctic Light Gallery and Excursions. That's Carl's Facebook page. Like both those Facebook pages, and answer the following question in any post related to the contest. So you could do it in post for this show because we mentioned the contest, or the initial post about the contest, or any post that mentions the contest on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Just answer the question, where would be your dream place to photograph? So you do those 3 things and you're automatically entered. If you've competed in any of the contests before, you've already done about 50% of the work. So you just got to do like 2 more things. Super duper simple. Where would be your dream place to photograph, Zach?
Probably, if it was just not actually a news story or anything like that, but just to go and photograph, probably where Carl photographed. Bristol Bay is unbelievable. It is probably the most stunning place on the face of the planet, in my opinion. And having been up in Alaska, being somewhat kind of close to that, it's even more gorgeous than where I visited. So, and it's extraordinarily expensive and difficult to get to. So kind of usually there's 2 kind of people that are able to go there, the natives, the Alaska natives that live there, and really wealthy fly fishermen. Basically, and photographers and National Geographic photographers. Basically, those are the three people that are able to visit that place. So that's the place I'd like to go to.
For me, I'd probably want to go to Japan, like, you know, the higher countryside of Japan. I watched a documentary like a decade ago, maybe less. I forget, I can't remember when it came out exactly, but it was a documentary called Japanland, and very well done, very rich, just really well done. Kind of showed you the life of what it's like to be in Japan, and would love to go there and just document, because it just seems like such a uniquely interesting place, you know, like just anywhere on earth, you know, in terms of the kind of variety of people and figures and just stuff going on there. So that's where I would want to go. But let's get on with the show. We've got a lot of great topics to talk about tonight. What's that?
We're not going to let them answer?
Well,
Craig, where would you like to go?
I'd like to go to Antarctica, please.
There you go. And Ron, currently in Hawaii, in a Hawaiian shirt. Where would your dream spot be to go?
I guess Hawaii, I guess. Hey, I'm here already.
Oh, that's boring.
My dream come true.
Just pull up that Venetian blind and take a photo with your camera, and you're all set.
just outside.
Yeah.
Just outside the window.
All right. Well, our guest tonight is Craig Stampfli. So, Craig, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I want everybody to know we got Ron on tonight. Ron is not a guest. I want everybody to know that. He is our second host. So we bring in Ron so much that I just made him an honorary second host.
Third host.
So you're my first host. Zach, you're my co-host. I'm sorry, he's my second co-host.
Oh, that's true.
Zach, you're my first co-host. Ron is my second co-host.
Let's say, wait a minute.
Right.
Sorry.
Is this how I get fired?
No. I'm the host. Zach is the co-host, and Ron is the second co-host. That's what I meant to say.
The vice co-host.
Right, deputy co-host. But anyways, so that's everybody should know who may be listening or watching that Ron is not going to tell us about himself. If you want to learn about Ron, just like you gotta learn about Zach.
You should know by now. That's
yeah, you gotta go to our website, and we'll have some information about Ron over there.
There you go.
Anyways, but Craig does not come on every week like Ron does. So Craig, tell us about yourself.
Right. Well, I'm a photographer based in Brisbane, in Queensland, in Australia, and I do a little bit of everything. So events, real estate, landscapes for fun. Recently sold a print, and getting ready for a bit more travel this year.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
And it says it's a little chilly down there in Australia.
Just a little bit cool this morning, so it'll be warming up. It'll be in the mid-20s Celsius later today.
All right. Well, glad to have you on, Craig. We got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get on with the show. So our first topic this evening is about another well-known, award-winning photojournalist, basically screwing up everything and messing with things and doctoring images and just making the whole career field, I guess, look bad. So Souvid Datta had admitted to doctoring and appropriating photos. So I'd never heard of Souvid before. Apparently he's very well known, or at least, you know, award-winning. But again, sad to see any photojournalist, you know, use not only doctor images, but use other people's work in their imagery. That's something new that I've not seen from, you know, people like Steve McCurry and other people who, you know, doctor imagery. Is usually they just doctor their own imagery, but to actually bring in someone else's work from like decades earlier, that was shocking, I think, and probably the most surprising out of this whole thing. So let me throw it to you all. Craig, what do you think about all this stuff? Are you shocked? Are you dismayed? Are you what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess pretty disappointed. I mean, because it's not an easy appropriating somebody else's work. He's given them a false name. He's given them a whole backstory. So it's not just using part of an image. It's just taking it to a completely different level. I mean, with McCurry, they doctored out, or they photoshopped out various bits and pieces and enhanced certain things. But this is just a completely new level that we haven't sort of seen before, with backstories and things like that. Just completely not appropriate.
Yeah, I don't think any level of manipulation is appropriate, but
No.
yeah, you're right. This is like beyond not appropriate. At least with the stuff with McCurry, I think, you know, there were people who were willing to defend him. Not me, but other people. With this, I don't know how you defend this. I mean, this is straight up lying.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Um,
How about you, Ron? What are your thoughts as you're moving through the house?
the same. Yeah, I am. Well, wherever I am. Yeah, it's the same thing. What you're saying exactly is not only do you edit your own photos, but then to steal somebody else's work, pass it off as your own, and then edit their stuff. My God, this is like a new level of evil in photojournalism.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we can't call it photojournalism anymore. It's just lies and deceit.
Yeah.
Art.
Exactly.
Art.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, art. Okay, yeah, you want to call it even, and then it's stolen art because it's not his photo to start with.
Yeah.
Without he's taking it without attribution, and then he's going to doctor it. It's a complete fraud. The guy's a fraud.
Yeah, and he's also taken other people's work and just said they're his.
Yeah.
So
a fraud and a thief. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Horrible. This is people. You know, I did a seminar in the Philippines last year, and the students were really well received. They loved it. One of the teachers had a really scowl on her face, and I said, you know, during a break, I asked her what's going on. She says, well, you know, you photojournalists, you photographers, you're the reason why Princess Diana is dead.
Oh, man.
Please do not confuse what and this is part of the problem, guys like this, giving us all a bad name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And he claims here in this interview with Time that it's like, oh, it's a hard world, blue-hoo, it's uncertain, fierce competition, yada, yada, yada. Like, whatever. There's no excuse.
No excuse.
Oh.
Lock him up.
Zach, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, that's actually, I have shockingly a boatload of thoughts on this one. Anyway.
Let's unpack this. Start from the beginning.
So, yeah, the one thing that you're actually not too far off, Ron. The one thing that I'm kind of surprised that no one here has, I've seen it maybe occasionally on like Facebook comments within some of the photo forums and stuff like that I've been looking at. But it's kind of weird to me that he hasn't volunteered. I haven't seen where he's volunteered. They're saying that he's going to return the good amount of as a person who's never won any prize money, the very good amount of prize money he's won. I know a couple of his prizes have been revoked, but that's literally, I'm sure he has the plaque or the whatever on his wall. They can't revoke that away from him. And, I'm sure they're not asking for it to be sent back. But my big thing is the cash. And to me, if you lie on these things, there has to be some provision in the like 30 pages of that most of these contests that you go through, that they have like, oh, we own the photo, we're able to use the photos, we're able to do all this stuff. Oh, by the way, but if you completely and totally lie about these photos and that the fact that they're not just not fully yours, but they're not real, they're not real photojournalism images, and you entered this contest that is a photojournalistic contest and applied for these grants. I've applied for, I think didn't he win a Pulitzer grant, I think? I've applied for a Pulitzer.
That's been revoked, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, like, my guess is he got that cash. It's been spent, I mean, and so, like, what drives me nuts is that there hasn't been this massive call for, no, he has to, they have to punish him. And that's not just his ending his career. That's punishing him in that way. People lose all the time. Print journalists lose book deals when they find out that they were lying, when they were plagiarizing or lying or stealing other people's work or doing whatever. And I know that photography has never been considered plagiarism, which is a thing in journalism that you lose your career over. Stephen Glass, there's an entire film about him plagiarizing other people's work. And for some reason, anybody, and this is a long rant I've always had, anybody can just steal a photo, put it on their website, and not credit it, which then I have to imply that it's their photo. That's stealing. That's plagiarizing. That's not just a criminal act. That's not just something I'm going to send a takedown notice for. That's something you should lose your journalism creds over, because you're implying that it is yours. In the same way that if I took well, I write as well as I take photos. If I took a paragraph from somebody's work, which by the way took nowhere near as long and large effort as some of the photos that I took. I just drove down to Atlanta over the weekend to take some photos of Trump. If somebody stole one of my photos from the NRA convention, that's 14 hours of driving that they stole. That's not just, type, and I'm done. But they're treated completely differently. I think that if the photo community, the MPPA statement was a good
What if they
step.
give you credit, Zach?
Well, it's straight up stealing. Then I'll charge them, and that's kind of a different thing. But if they put it in their blog post or their website and they don't credit anyone, and the only credit on that blog post or that article is the journalist, I have to assume everybody else has to assume that it's the journalist's photo, because that's the way in posts that I put on my websites and different things. I don't credit my own photos usually. I don't even necessarily put watermarks on them if it's for a website that's paid for their work, or they, I put like Nation of Change or Truth Out or whatever on the credit. So like that's first kind of a big thing, is that I'd really like to see these, it's Getty Images editorial grant, Alexia Foundation, Visura photojournalism grant, Lens Culture Magnum Photos Award. These are basically some of the biggest awards that and recognitions that anyone can win. And I don't know any of them. And please, if I'm wrong, put comments down or send me a letter, and I'll definitely write it up and say that, I'm happily wrong on this issue. But I don't hear any of them saying, we're sending you an invoice for the money that we gave you for these photos and for these awards, because you did not win this award. Oh, and by the way, second place, this is how the Olympics works. We take the medal away from you and we give it to the next person along the way. This is the way this stuff to be. These are life-changing awards. If I won a Getty Images editorial grant, or an Alexia Foundation, or a Magnum Photos Award, that's a career-changing thing. That's why this guy is so well known. Okay, so that's step one of what I'm ranting about today. And then step two is, where are the judges on this? Where are the judges doing the proper research? Was this guy not, like, these larger awards that aren't just, this isn't like, going on 500 PX, or I'm trying to remember the other, like, the kind of like, or even PDN, which is, contest you pay to enter, and it's a big thing, but it's not like, photojournalists, die over. Why don't you have to submit your RAWs for this?
Yeah, that's going to have to be the thing from now on, is submit your RAWs.
It damn well should be. Because, this isn't just, obviously, the massive, ridiculous photoshopping this guy did, which obviously, on hindsight, I look at this and go, holy crap, that was photoshopped. Obviously, a hindsight, it's always hard to know that when you don't have the information first. But it's the fact that these judges seemingly are doing, I guess, just like passing along and doing work, and like I haven't heard any of them coming out and saying, "Holy crap, we screwed up. We haven't, we shouldn't have done this." Demanding that these places put in higher levels of demands on things, because we've had this so many times, and we've had this with big awards. The Time magazine, mentions a bunch of different journalists. Paulo Pellegrin, who touched up and set up his own photos for, was it World? I think it was World Press Photo. I think it was. But like, this is not the first time that we've had this happen. And in a field that is not dying, but losing trust with photoshopping so easy to happen, and all the things that are going on, this is ridiculous that we're not dealing with this. And every step of the way, it should be damning. And if we want to build some way that this guy can work his way back into photojournalism, okay, I'm all about reform. I don't want prison for if you robbed a bank. I don't want your life to be over. Clearly, we need to rebuild you back into society. If this guy wants to stay in photojournalism, okay, but he needs to, like, I don't know what, go through, you know, 20 years of 20 years of internships, unpaid internships, like we all have, and he needs to have that. That's his punishment. I don't know. But the final thing, and I apologize for taking up so much time, is the British Journal of Photography had an article, Diane Smith, titled "Report Why Is Souvid Datta's Image Theft the Least of the Problem?" Which I disagree whether or not it's the least of the problem, but I feel like we're talking about two different things here. Is the fact that his photos were taken of a 16-year-old girl who, for all intents and purposes, and is being raped, and they don't take photos of most of these projects that you've seen before, whether it be there's a great documentary, the title Brothels in it, that document the Indian brothels where younger women do it. Most of the time they focus more on the men who are paying for the women or doing whatever. I don't want to get into the language, but I highly recommend reading the British Journal of Photography article. It explains it a heck of a lot better than I can, because the language here is very, very important on because one issue is here that they were even, I've heard followed up, is that the British Journal of Photography article refers to the women, or girls in some case, as sex workers, as opposed to trafficked women or rape victims. Which again, this is like, you know, something that we kind of deal with all the time in photography. We're always often photographing victims, and how we portray them is extraordinarily important. And one of the conversation that, other than, you know, the British Journal of Photography here, I haven't really been heard talking about, is the fact that he won awards for photographing rape victims, naming them, talking about them, not changing their names, not doing any of the thing that I would do as a journalist, in my years of like dealing with subjects that don't want to be known on camera and don't want to have their lives ruined by talking to me. He didn't do any of that. He didn't change their names. He said what their name was, said what their story was. So literally that woman now, who is in that photograph, is used at. Also, I'm trying to remember which one was it. It was the which award it was that used the photo as an Facebook advertising. They used the photo of the woman being raped. Lens Culture Magnum Photos Award used the image on Facebook, and it took them a long time before they took it down. Like, it was days, I think. They used that image of her of this 16-year-old girl, 17-year-old girl being raped by this man as their Facebook advertising image to tell people to enter their contests, because Lens Culture is just a contest website, basically. And to me, that's just not something that you would do. So, yeah. There you go.
Do you feel better now? Got that off your chest?
I could go for another 10 minutes if you want, but I think that's enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely something that is sad to see in the field, and hopefully there is going to be, you know, some real ramifications for him. I mean, obviously his name will now be associated with image manipulation, like many, many others now, thanks to the internet and a simple Google search. So hopefully he will be, you know, held back from a lot of opportunities. And if he is to submit anything to a contest, then it's looked at with extreme scrutiny. In fact, you know, we were talking about having to submit RAWs. I would almost if I were to host a photography contest in this day and age, not only would I want the raw image, I would want the one image to the left and right of that image. Because, you know, what's to say you created a great, you know, raw image, or created a great image in Photoshop and then photographed it. Now you have your raw photo, right? You know?
CS made the joke that we should just go back to film. And then you just submit your contact sheets and it's done.
So I can,
Which I said,
I can make an
I'm all
image in
about
Photoshop, print it out, put it on a duplicator or whatever, and then shoot it with my film. Bada bing, bada boom.
If you
But
want
if
to
you
go
have the
through
image
that,
to the left and right of it, then you have a bit more like, you know, like scrutiny.
if you want to go through that whole process to win a $500 award for most of these awards, after paying usually $35, $50, $75 to even enter the contest, to be honored enough to enter the contest.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a minute here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Any more thoughts from you two?
On the subject of, yeah, no, that's fine. You're right.
Anything Zach said or this subject in general?
Zach rules.
He does rule. All right, Craig, any Australian guidance?
I agree with everything that my American brothers have said.
Okay. Always be really careful when you just say I agree with everything Zach says.
Well,
in
this context,
and in many a fine person in court. No.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's right. Mr. Stampfli, where were you on the night of...
Wait, does Australia have libel laws the way UK does? Okay.
I don't know. Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Probably not as strong.
Yeah.
We can pretty much get away with a lot down here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic this evening, which I believe is the photo contest. Yeah, okay. So we already mentioned it. Yeah. Competitions, you know, are a big deal in our industry, or maybe they're not. I don't know. This is sort of the hypothesis or the thesis of the article, excuse me, that was written about competitions and them being worth it. You know, we all talk about competitions. We just talked about like half a dozen right here in this last story, but are they really that relevant, or do they matter in this day and age? You know, of course, back in the day, there were like less publications, and, you know, the prestige of being published in like a magazine or newspaper where, you know, you didn't have the internet to, you know, have the immediate outlet to show off your work to hundreds of thousands of people. Like, you know, the act of being featured in a magazine that had a huge, you know, ability to broadcast your image was a huge deal, you know, because they were the gatekeepers for that ability to reach audience. But now, of course, if you're prolific on something like Instagram, you can reach thousands of people very easily. So the whole like prestige of being featured. Now, of course, there are always going to be the contests that have, you know, pots or prizes to them and stuff. And I think there's always going to be a desire and drive to win those. But, you know, at $35, $40, $50 per entry, you know, what is the ultimate drive to compete in these contests? Ron, any thoughts from you on contests? Do you submit and compete in contests?
You know, it's getting fewer and fewer as the years go on. I'm moving more to video and less away from still photography. So it's been a long time that I've done anything like that. But
video contests, aren't there video contests?
Well, maybe I would enter I would enter my stuff in video contests. You know, if you guys are members of the NPAA, if you are, National Press Photography Association, NPPA, thank you. They have every year you get a CD or DVD of all the award-winning broadcasts from the television. If you guys have seen that before, with the news stories on you know, whatsoever, and you know, they select the best stuff there. And I certainly think those are prestigious in our career field, that we can see what our peers are up to, and I think that deserves recognition, because a lot of times what we do goes unthanked, goes unrecognized. We do our jobs and we submit our stuff, and that's the end of it. So things like that are certainly important. As far as contests for young people, I encourage all my students to participate. Last year, during my seminar, I had a photo contest for my students, and the grand prize was a Sony RX100. So they were quite enthused at getting me some good images that year.
Nice.
So I think if the rewards are good enough, it spurs creativity. It spurs interest in photography, which is what we're all about. And so I think photo contests are a good thing, even if I don't participate in myself.
Okay. Craig?
Yeah, I think there's some good ones around. Not sure about the ones where you have to pay a lot of money to submit to then just be part of a pool of, you know, potential entries. not sure I'd ever want to really do that. I do a couple of online ones where you sort of, there's a challenge or there's a theme and off you go. And I just sort of, if anything for me, it's for inspiration and to see what's possible. A couple of the associations that I'm involved with here in Brisbane, they do, or one of them does the print awards every year. And I missed out this year in that I didn't submit anything. But I've got it as a goal for next year to actually come up with something like a personal project. And I'll submit a print. That's my plan for next year. This year, just time got away from me. But I'd like to see where I sort of stack up against some peers, or if I'm even considered a peer. That's how I look at it, just sort of personal growth. I'm not looking for recognition or, you know, to advance my career by winning a print, but it'd just be nice to know that maybe my work is acceptable or suitable, or at least enjoyed by others, you know. That's the main thing.
All right, Zach?
I've kind of entirely given up. I entered a couple back when, like, during Ferguson and like when I kind of had those shots that I thought were like really, you know, big breaking news, like award-winning shots and this sort of thing, and got crickets in return. And there's a couple contests which I learned, I don't know if it was last podcast or the podcast before, that I thought were you had to pay to enter, but as I found out, you don't have to pay to enter. So unfortunately, I found that out a little too late. So I will probably enter those next year, because if you don't have to pay to enter them, why the hell not? But I've been lazy about entering the NPPA contests, like their monthly contests and everything like that. So that's just the thing. But on the other hand, I don't know. I find that one of the problems is I live in upstate New York, and with the NPPA contest, which is something I wish that they would fix a little bit, is that I'm up against, I think my district is New York City and Boston or something. And so it's like, so I don't, and I'm not 100% sure because my stuff's not published in this district. I mean, like, I don't know how it works. But like, I've submitted some stuff that I thought was really good and got nothing happening on it. And not that not to discount the people that actually won, their stuff is incredible, but you know, when you're not based in kind of a major city or somewhere that's a little bit more interesting, it's tough to, there's a lot of contests that just, you know, it's really tough to do anything with. And I basically usually only cover like protests and conferences and stuff like that in general. So, like, you know, I mean, I got a lot of great shots from the conventions, but the guy sitting next to me, oh my God, I forgot his name. He won the he won the Pulitzer or was not, or got the finalist for the Pulitzer. So it was one of those. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to compete against the guy from Getty. So yeah, but which is fine for me. I'm doing better making a living, but the contest, maybe one day I'll start winning those. But for now, I'll leave them to Tyler Hicks.
Yeah. Is there a price to enter the Pulitzer? Like, is there a cost to enter that competition, or is that free? No.
That one, I think you can either submit yourself, or you can, you can either submit yourself or somebody else will submit. So, I mean, like, you can submit whatever, but I mean, you know, I think that the fact that some small newspaper in Iowa, I believe it was, won the commentary for the Pulitzer this year, well deserved, but was completely shocking. So that's the problem with the Pulitzer, is that it's the penultimate award to win, especially in photojournalism. So, you know, I think that I'll be surprised that unless it's something like the one individual amazing shot from something like, you know, something like Ferguson or the Boston Marathon, a terrorist attack. Those are the only way that you're going to win something, unless you're covering stuff overseas. You know, I mean, and that's, again, I don't want to ever say that that's anything like, look, I get it. We're kind of boring in the United States. You know, the worst thing that happens is the city you know, a couple streets burned down. You know, you go if you want to win a Pulitzer.
Boring.
You know, if you want to win a
Even get that in
Pulitzer.
Australia.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, you guys have wildfires, so I mean, entire provinces burned down.
Victoria.
Have you seen the size of those spiders? Jesus.
Well, did Marcus Yam win? Did the LA Times? I forget if the LA Times won for their coverage, or was a finalist for their coverage of the wildfires, or it was something else. So I mean, like, you know, I mean, there are a lot of things you can win, but like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I think it's always a lot easier, and understandably, like, yeah, Tyler Hicks, he almost got killed in Yemen. Yeah, maybe he should be a little bit higher than me, getting hit with a police baton in Ferguson. You know, yeah, I'm okay with that. You know, what he had to do to get the photo, and the fact that he is a shockingly better photographer than me, which I will happily admit. You know, yeah, he deserves it better than me. So it's like, I kind of, with a lot of content, I'm like, is it worth my time? And then is it worth the ego smashing that happens when I don't win? I don't know.
I'll say this about contests. You know, I'm not saying it's true of all of them, but a friend of mine, he gave me some sage advice about film contests, or like the whole racket, if you will, of the film contest industry. And it is a racket, because a lot of the times those contests are designed to help the contest owner raise money for their own personal projects. Yeah. So, you know, you see these film festivals, or quote unquote film festivals. I mean, you know, honestly, if they aren't like Cannes or Sundance or one of the big names you've heard of, most of the times they're just somebody trying to raise money, again, for their own personal film projects. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if they bring to light a category of film to an audience. It's just something to keep in mind. You know, you may get an accolade, you may get the Leafs or whatever, but you're giving your money to somebody else. And sometimes you'll be selected as a winner for those contests, and it's just like your film is shown on like Theater 3 in the middle of the day when nobody's watching it, but your film is being shown at this competition. So that's not to say that photo contests are necessarily shams, but you just have to keep in mind, you know, you're probably funding someone else, but you're also paying for the time and effort it takes to actually review content. So what I'm going to say is, you know, enter contests if you want to. I personally wouldn't pay to enter another contest myself. I'm not at that point in my career where I need that accolade. And as we've seen, you know, as the whole career has shifted, at least with regard to photojournalism, it doesn't matter if you're an award-winning photojournalist, or, you know, you won a Pulitzer. You know, you're still going to be let go by your newspaper. You know, they're still going to end their entire stock photography. You know, it doesn't matter if you have an entire archive of awards. If they can't afford to pay you, they're not going to pay you. So I would say just focus on making really great stuff. Definitely enter the free competitions, like Zach was saying. I highly recommend that. Find free competitions. Make up a competition if you need to. You know, I mean, create a competition and then make it free to enter. I don't know. There's a lot of different things, because with any competition, you have to take into account who's actually judging the imagery. You know, it's like one thing to have a competition, but who's judging it? Are the judges people who, you know, should be, you know, judging a competition or worthwhile? So that's another thing you should definitely look into if you are entering any competition, free or paid.
So Dave, I'm actually very interested, because I've never really talked to CS about this either, and CS has won a bunch of the military photojournalism. I forget what that's called, the military photojournalism awards.
Military Photographer of the Year.
Is it really? I thought they had. Isn't there like a whole photo set? Like it's a whole.
Well, there's a couple different competitions. There's competitions within the public affairs field called the Thomas Jefferson Awards. Then there's competitions amongst the different, you know, services for their best photographer. Like, for instance, Muncie, I know, has won Photographer of the Year for the Air National Guard. So that's amongst just the Air National Guard. We also have that in the Air Force, the Marine Corps. All the services do their own internal competitions. And then all those winners go to the Department of Defense's competition for photography called MilFog, or also MilVid for Military Videographer of the Year, and MilGraph for Military Graphic Artist of the Year. So, yeah, I know I know Chris has won a couple awards for MilFog. I've also won a few for Milfog back in the day. It is a prestigious competition, and amongst the circle of within the military, it's highly sought after and highly regarded. So if you're in the military and you win those competitions, it opens doors for you to get accepted to different type of units, and definitely highly regarded if you do get those.
Yeah, because I've always been curious on that, is whether that, like, what does that do? Because obviously it's a great thing if you're when you're applying in civilian life, but it's always been interesting to see if it does so it does actually kind of help you move up the ranks in a way, or at least it would give you that extra little oomph.
Yes and no. I mean, in certain instances, it can definitely help. It definitely adds to your resume, so to speak. So the way the military works is, obviously you're not competing for rank. It has nothing to do with your rank. Your rank up is going to be based on a number of different factors that have nothing to do with your, winning a photo competition. Although it can help, with regard to your overall performance reports. But that, again, is dependent on the service and how much they weigh something like a contest. But what it does do is it makes you stand out amongst the crowd when you want to be a part of certain prestigious job specialties. So, for instance, White House photographer, there's only a few slots available for that. So how do you make yourself stand out amongst every other member of the military who also happens to be a photojournalist? You may have all the rank qualifications, but you may be competing somebody with the exact same sort of skills. But if you can show, oh, I also won X, Y, and Z award, it's just a little notch above what maybe other people. It's just something to take in consideration when you submit a package for things. So that's where I would say, but in terms of inside the military, those type of competitions have sort of any sort of weight. It's mostly in like your annual type performance reports. But then again, outside, again, when you're putting together a resume, if I were putting together a resume right now, I would love to have military photographer of the year on my resume, because it definitely is a nice feather in the cap. It's like, Stacy Pearsall, guest of the show, great photographer and friend of mine. She has made a career for herself based partially on the fact that, not only was she a female photojournalist in war, but she also won the military photographer of the year competition, I think, multiple times. You have other people who, have that. If you can win that competition and win it multiple times, you are just going to stand out that much more. And, again, that makes you get that much more legitimacy when you want to apply for things. And again, I think it's been said by other photographers that I've talked to or listened to, it's like the contests don't guarantee anything, but they allow you to put your foot in the door. Yeah. And that's pretty much all you can get in this day and age. They open up doors, and then you can put your foot in them.
And then it gets slammed and your toes get broken.
That's right.
Sorry. Am I that cynical today?
You're extra cynical today, Zach. I like it, though. Stay cynical. So is that worth it for you? I don't know. That's something you all have to decide. Is that worth it, your money? Is there any prestigious Australian contest that you're going to enter, Craig? You want to enter?
Well, it's the AIPP awards that they do. It's via each state first, and then you've got the national award.
Okay.
So that's the Australian Institute of Professional Photography, and I've gotten to know a few of either state winners or even overall like landscape winners and things like that, and truly fabulous work. And it's good to sort of speak with them, get to know their techniques or how it is that they craft their image, particularly in camera, not so much the post-processing side, but what it is that they look for composition or how they, take the image and go from there. So I think that's what I've enjoyed most about some of the associations I've joined. It's allowing me to grow as a photographer and meet some very, very interesting people. And then I just want to challenge myself and push myself that little bit harder, a little bit further.
Yeah. No, I think if it challenges you, that's great. It's just, again, if it costs money, you got how much are you going to budget for it? That's the biggest thing.
Correct.
And I mean, I would think. Well, I would say if I had imagery that I knew was like, everybody was giving me praise on, and it was like, I thought it was really awesome, then I might be willing to spend the money on it. But otherwise, though.
I think you just have to figure out where the money's going. I'm guessing some of it goes to hiring the facility where you know, you're going to spend, or the judges have to sit and look at all these images. I think you have to submit prints yourself, and they have to be of a certain quality and a certain size.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where some of the costs go to. I don't think it's extremely, I mean, I think it's $20 or $30 per entry, and you're limited to how many entries per category. I mean, there would only be a couple of categories that I'd sort of consider being qualified to enter or wanting to enter. So we'll see. I'll find the money next year if I can get around to making a suitable image.
Yeah.
Zach, we need to do the Around the Lens photo contest. It's going to be $50 per entry, unlimited.
Here we go.
And then me and Zach will look over the imagery. Then Ron will make a final decision. Ron will be the tiebreaker.
I vote for Zach.
Well, is it going to be a blind contest?
Can I submit my own images under a different name?
Oh,
Sure, sure.
geez, you can do just about anything these days.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our final topic this evening. So, you know, we've had guests on the show who've promoted their gear or promoted things that they thought were, you know, like their picks of the week. And of course, Sharky famously decided to pick pants as one of his picks for the week. So we got gear here. It's kind of unusual in terms of, we're not talking about, you know, camera gear, so to speak. We're talking about a wallet. And this isn't, I don't think this is something you can actually go out and buy, but I thought it was interesting. This photographer made a wallet to store his credit cards and his memory cards. And the first thing I thought of is like, do I really want to stick my memory cards in a device that I'm going to be putting in my back pocket and sitting on all day? Yeah. I can't imagine that's good for the memory cards. But, you know, I want to take your guys' take on it. You know, is this something you think is clever? You know, a card holder that can also, you know, is your wallet. Is this something you would use? Is this basically just a real limited use case scenario? Craig, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a solution to a problem we really don't have. Not something I would go for. I mean, this takes SD cards, and both my cameras use CF, so that counts me out straight away.
Right.
And I don't want to mix my credit cards and photography stuff. I mean, if I start losing my wallet, I've lost a bunch of cards.
Yeah.
I keep in both my I have a camera bag and a Pelican case, and I have a nice little hard wallet or little plastic case in each with extra CF cards, so that wherever I go, whatever I've grabbed, I know I've got spares in there apart from what's already in the cameras. Yeah. It's nice. It's a clever little thing, but it's not something that I would use, particularly because of the card size.
Ron?
No, again, you're right. It's a very groovy looking wallet. I like the way it looks. You know, it's nice leather. If you know, it has the SD card slots built right there. It's really nice. Nothing wrong with it. But again, no, I have a camera bag. I have I do carry a fanny pack with me that I keep my spare batteries and memory cards and cables and so on and so forth with me. I use that for my little gear bag. So I don't see why I need to add another backup for my backup from my backup. It's okay idea, but my gosh, what is it? 70 euros, I think it was, something like that.
Oh yeah.
It's very expensive. Yeah. It's nice. It's kind of groovy, and maybe it would make a nice gift for somebody, but it's certainly not something I would buy for myself. Hey, I got an idea. Next year's photo contest, that'll be my prize that I give to the winner.
Hey, there you go. There you
go. Only if they shoot SD though. So.
That's
true.
Yeah.
How about you, Zach?
Christmas
list? Christmas wish list right now?
I've occasionally, when I don't have, like, I have pants that have like an extra pocket that I occasionally throw them in it. Like, I'll occasionally like throw them in amongst, like, behind with my wallet with my cards holding them in, because I've broken SD cards before. So that's a big worry. If it had some sort of like thin metal, like, you know, like where the card was, if for people listening on audio, I'm holding up my wallet and explaining how I would do it. But like a thin metal thing, like that made sure that the card, that, because I mean, like, even with my credit cards in it, this bends, my wallet bends, and that my wallet has like there's like 6 different cards in here.
Blockbuster card, Panda Express.
Well, there's an Apple one, and then there's anyway. But
Can you hold those credit cards up to the camera for a minute?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, I won't fall for that trick again. I mean, I like the premise. It looks like a nice wallet. I like the concept. It seems like there could be a nicer concept. Although a lot of the comments on Petapixel are kind of right, which is, yeah, convenient. Now when I'm traveling, if someone steals your wallet, they can also get a couple $100 in SD cards and your memories. You know.
Yeah.
But I will say though, at the Petapixel link, click on the COOPH link there, and actually not the COOPH link, but where it says over in the COOPH online store, which I believe it's cooph.com, and it's Cooperative of Photography, and they do have a lot of fun. Like I usually don't buy like photo-centric T-shirts, but they actually have some really fun ones over there that I definitely would recommend checking out. They don't look too completely hipsterish or whatever. Oh, maybe not. They're 40 euros. Okay, maybe I will not buy any of these. 40 euros for a T-shirt, it's a little over my top. But if you got some cash, they have some cool jackets and stuff like that, and hats and stuff like that. I definitely recommend looking them out. Like they have some like cool photo geek T-shirts and stuff like that. So at least over at the site, they do have some interesting things. But yeah, no, I'll stick to. I mean, if I have my camera with me, if I just have my camera with me, I have two 32 gig cards in my camera. I don't need to care anymore. And honestly, if I'm shooting with compact flash, which I miss shooting with compact flash, you can just throw them in your pocket and who gives a crap. I literally have never broken a compact flash card.
Yeah, those things are well built.
So, but I've always used SanDisk, so I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, I don't see a real purpose for this. I would never use it as a wallet. Well, what I was thinking about as I was watching this and listening to y'all talk about it, and the way I would use it, if I were to use it all, is basically like a card holder. So, you know, like I've got this really nice metal, like hard card holder that I use to hold my compact flash cards, which I used to use when I shot cameras that use compact flash. And you know, I could see myself using this as just a general card holder and then sticking that in my camera bag. But I would never like wear this on my person. And then I would use the other slots that are meant for credit cards and would just put business cards in it. And that's kind of how I would use this. But at the price that they're charging for it, it's totally not worth it for what that limited purpose would be. So I can stick some cards in my bag and, you know, stick the compact flash cards. And really, I don't even have a need for extra compact flash cards. You know, I use the GH5 here, and I've got 2 SD cards right here in the card slot, you know, and I don't have to think about anything.
Oh, you got a GH5. Oh, wow.
I do got a GH5. You didn't know that, huh?
Yeah,
really? You haven't been listening to this show? Dave,
have you talked about it before?
Dave not talking about his Panasonic GH5?
Wow, it's incredible. I had no idea.
Anyways, I've got 512 gigabytes of data in here. So I put all my eggs in one basket. But I don't need any more SD cards because they're just all in here. And then I've got a few other SD cards, one inside my GH4. And that's about it. So, you know, honestly, I have like a 64 gigabyte in that one. And I mean, I'm never going to fill that up on most shoots. Anyways, especially if I'm shooting photography. I'm shooting video, then maybe, yeah, but you know, photography, not so much. So I don't see the utility myself. And again, you know, an SD card. And honestly, of the camera bags I've been testing, most of them have like little pockets for SD cards in the camera bag themselves built in. So you don't really need a separate holder. Like, you know, like they said, you're going to lose your SD cards along with your credit cards. It's going to be a big bad day if you do lose this. So anyways, I would not purchase it myself. Is there any gear you guys would purchase? Anything on your wish list, guys, for for your birthday or Christmas coming up? Anything you want? Little knickknacks, paddywhacks?
Yes, the IRIX 15mm 2.4 lens. That's what I'm after.
All right, all right.
Yeah. I've recently
Anything
played with
desire,
one.
Ron?
That's a lens. That's not. There's plenty of lenses I'd like to have. My God, camera bodies, lenses. Sure, why not? But as far as like photo accessories, I got a paper bag. I'm good.
What do you do with your paper bag? Just
Well,
put
that's
that
where
over
I carry
there?
all my stuff in. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
sometimes I need to put it over my head, like this.
Oh, Bear.
Zach, anything your heart desire? Maybe we can get for you.
I
review?
actually, I just sent off my one of my babies, one of my G600s, over to get fixed because the audio input stopped working, and also the mic stopped working. So I'm waiting to hear back on how much that's going to cost. But right now I'm eyeing on Adorama's website. They have a D750 Nikon D750 with a battery grip and a whole like kit of random stuff for like $1,500, which is like $500 cheaper than the camera usually is alone. So that's the thing I'm kind of trying to figure out how I can justify either not buying it or buying it. So I have to kind of justify both sides and then decide which one I don't want to. But the big thing I actually weirdly, as the kind of the resident bag person here, I weirdly have figured out that I need to figure out a bag that I'm able to carry on my person while shooting, and keep this freaking thing going, because I've started shooting again, even after buying a 4K JVC actual video camera. I've kind of stopped shooting with it and started shooting with this thing again.
Wow.
And because I like the way it looks so much better. But it's the problem is carrying my lenses in my shoulder bag and this thing, and because this thing blows through batteries so much, and the batteries that the AA batteries that I have to carry with it, my back is just not liking it. So I've been trying to figure out what the heck I have to do. So the magic.
Well, you know what you could do, Zach? You could switch to the GH5, and then you could buy the hot shoe. There's a audio device that goes in the hot shoe here. You don't need any extra batteries for it. It's powered through the hot shoe, and it gives you those XLR inputs.
Hold on. I gotta
put that out there.
I got a piece of paper here. I want to show you something.
All right.
So,
let me show you how big the sensor is.
Here's the sensor size.
No. Here's the sensor size. There's the sensor size right there. That's the sensor size.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So it's this right here, just for people who are listening at home and not watching. It's this big versus the sensor size on my DSLR. Hold on a minute. Let me just pull out my. It's this big. See how big the black is here, right here? That's see-through. That's how big my sensor size is. So, what would you rather have? No, that's actually too big. Let me rip a little more paper off. There we go. Square footage wise, that's about right.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. So, which one would you rather have? And considering how much did your GH5 cost?
$2,000.
You know how much this cost me used from CS Muncie? Cost me $800 right here. Oh, this cost me $180 on Amazon. And the memory cards here. Oh, this lens cost me $400. So what price are we at right now?
It's cheaper than the 5D Mark IV, which is what the only other camera I was thinking about buying at the time was.
Well, that's part of your problem. You're buying Canon.
Hey,
Speaking of Canon, for those of you who are interested, Canon currently has a sale. I picked up one recently. Was the 85mm 1.8. You can get the refurbished for Canon for $260.
Nice.
I just picked one up. I got it. It came in the mail yesterday. Yep. Yeah.
If I still shot Canon.
He's going on right now. If you need,
I'm done.
Craig, if you need a place to ship it, give me a yell.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually serious about that. But
Yeah, not wrong.
Although I have a feeling that's probably admitting to like VAT fraud or something like that. So maybe not. I'm just kidding.
No, we're GST over here.
We'll talk about it offline.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Not interested at all. No.
It's been quite the show. Let us close up with where people can find out more about you, Craig.
Right, for me, Stampfli.photography. So my name .photography. Facebook, I think it's Craig.Stampfli, and on Instagram, Craig.Stampfli.
You know, that's an interesting point. Why'd you go with the .photography over like a .com or something like that? Was it just not available, or did you want to like say yourself out?
Stampfli.com takes you to a Swiss rowing sculls, which it's the same name, and there might be a distant connection, but I don't know, just something different. When we were looking at .coms or for Australia .com.au, that would have been available. But I just thought to be clever, to be different, for branding, that it might work. But it sort of bites me occasionally because my email at Craig@Stampfli.photography sometimes doesn't work. It comes up as not a real email. So hindsight, I would have probably done .com.au. But at the time, it seemed like the clever thing. Combine the two names, get the two words.
Yeah,
the website is the company name type thing.
Okay, cool. I would love to have one of those domains where it's like the extension portion of the dot, you know, after the dot, like rolls into your name, you know, like like MURP.HY, you know, if there's something like that. But you know, anyways,
I've started. I'm starting a visual media thing website, and they now have .news, NEWS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I got VISU.news, Visu News, like visual
Very
news,
good.
and I love it because I mean, you know, the great thing is that about all those things now. I mean, obviously, I understand with the email issue, but everybody just types it into the Google Chrome, and it comes up one way or the other. You know, either it comes up as a Google hit or it comes up as the actual website. So I think that I would imagine that .com is probably going to go away relatively soon. You know,
it'll just be something people don't think about. You know, it's like the phone numbers. People don't know actual phone numbers. They just know your name. So that's kind of, I think, where it's going to go at.
Yeah.
Ron, where can people find out about you?
You know, let's try something different this week.
I like it.
If people want to know about me, send me an email. Or you can reach me at ronphoto@gmail.com, and I'll tell you all about myself.
Wow, that's very brave of you.
Let me give you my postal address, and you can send me a postcard, and we'll become mail friends. Pen pals is the word I was looking for. Thank you.
All right, Zach.
zdroberts.com, and obviously around the lens you can find anything photo wise that I'm talking about.
And for me, you can mail me at my address, which is not going to reveal.
Chicago Penitentiary, cell 1514.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you can find me at djmfo.com. Oh, of course, you can always find everything we're doing at aroundthelens.com. So please go check that out. Try and compete in our contest this month. And just overall, pay attention to what we're doing and listen to the show and tell a friend. Oh, please, if everybody could just tell one friend, we would double our subscription base. And then next week, everybody tell one friend, and then tell a friend, and then, you know, by the end of the month, we will be so much subscribers, let me tell you. So if you do nothing for me after you listen to the show, if you do one thing, tell somebody about the podcast, and then make sure they listen, and then sit them down, force them to listen. That's all I ask. Just force them to listen to the show for an hour. Don't let them leave. Just invite them over for something like dinner. And then,
okay. I was about to say, are you telling people to just randomly like kidnap someone?
No.
You're like, here you go. Here's some headphones.
Or you can document it.
Yeah. And then you submit it to us for the contest.
That's it.
You made someone listen to the show, Anyway,
There you go.
and you could
I
win.
promise you guys, if you kidnap someone and force them to listen to the entire show, and photograph or videotape it, I will send you a autographed print. Actually, no, I won't. That's probably illegal. So I was joking.
That'll be our June contest
Oh, there you
requirement
go.
for someone to listen to the show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. I want to thank our guest, one guest, Craig Stampfli, and for my second co-host, Ron Hamilton.
Forgot Ryan's last name. Great. Awkward. That's all.
And my actual co-host, longtime co-host, Zach Roberts, first co-host.
Yep.
Always in my heart. First in my heart. Always. Zach Roberts. I am David J. Murphy. This has been Around the Lens, episode 73, and we are out.